Okay, so we're going to start again. It says in the pasuk Vatitzena, the Mem Vavam at Beis, the last line on the bottom. It says in the pasuk Vatitzena, Shtayim Dubim in Hayar, 2 bears came out of the forest with the Bekanim Mehem Ayim Ashbroim Shnei Eladim, and they tore apart 42 children. Rav Shmuel, so we have Machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Chadam or Nes, Chadam or Nes B'Seichnes. One says it was a miracle, and one says it was a miracle within a miracle. Manda Amar Nes, the one who says it was a miracle, he would say Yar Hava, there was a forest there, Dubim Lehava, but there were no bears in the forest. And the miracle was that bears turned up from nowhere. Manda Amar Nes B'Seichnes, the one who says it was a miracle within a miracle, La Yar Hava V'Lei Dubim Hava. There was no forest, there were no bears. So the miracle was that suddenly a forest appeared and bears came out of the forest. Let the miracle just happen that there should become bears. What do you need the forest for? So the Gemara to be easy, because then the bears would be fearful and they wouldn't be able to do that task. Bears, in order to attack, need a place to retreat to. Amar Reb Chanina said, because of the 42 karbanis that Balak, the king of Moab, brought. The story of Bilam, Hufkum, Yisrael, Arboim, Shtayim, Yiladim, 42 children by Yidden were torn apart. Frakti Gemara, Ini, is that the case? Didn't Rav Yehuda say in the name of Rav, Lo'elam Yasikot Materu Mitzvus, Afal Bishalei Lishma, Shemetech Shalei Lishma, Bal Lishma. A person should always engage in Teru Mitzvahs, even if it's not for the right reason, because from doing things not for the right reason, you come to start doing it for the right reason. Because in merit of the 42 karbanis, that Balak, the king of Moab, offered Zachav Yatzim Imenu Rus, he merited that Rus came from him. She Yatzim Imenu Shleimah, from whom Shleimah Melech stem. Shakasav Bey, by whom it says, Elef Eilis Yala Shleimah, Shleimah will offer 1,000 karbanis, 1,000 Eilis. The Amar of Yesi ben Chayni said, Rus B'tei Shel Eglain, B'nai Shel Balak Haisa. Rus was the daughter of Eglain, the son of Balak. So we see that as a result of the 42 karbanis, something good happened. So why are you saying that as a result of the 42 karbanas something bad happened? And for the Gemara, his intention was to curse the Yidden. And therefore, from his intention, something negative came out. From his action, something good came out. From his intention, something bad came out. People of the city said to Elisha, behold, the dwelling of the city is good, as my master sees. Says that the water was bad, the Eretz Mishakelis, and the land caused people to die. So what was the goodness of the land? Reb Chanan said, the nature of people is that there's a grace, a place appears to be favorable to its inhabitants. People always think the place they live is a good place. It doesn't have to be a rational conclusion. Amar Rabbi Yechanan said, there's 3 favors. There's 3 things that naturally are favorable. Every place is favorable to its inhabitants. A woman is favorable to her, appears favorable to her husband. A purchased item appears favorable to its purchaser. Elisha became ill 3 times. One illness was a punishment for inciting the bears against the children. One illness was a punishment for pushing away Gehazi with both hands. And I guess we will see the story of Gehazi soon. And one, the final illness from which he died. As it says in the pasuk, Elisha became ill with the illness that he died from, that he would die from. Always the left hand should push away, but the right hand should draw close. In other words, whenever one gives musr to someone, at the same time that one rebukes, one shouldn't reject completely. And we shouldn't behave like Elisha, who pushed Gehazi away with both hands. Elisha Mahi. What's the story with Elisha? It says Naaman was the general of Aram, and Naaman was struck with leprosy, and Naaman had a Jewish girl that worked for him, and she told him that he should go to the Navi in Shemrein, and the Navi will cure him. So the whole story, he came to Elisha, and Elisha told him that he should go and bathe in the Yarden. He thought that was a joke. He bathed in much greater rivers than the Yarden. It didn't help him. Anyway, in the end, they convinced him to go and try it. He tried it, and as he came out of the Yarden, his skin was back like a child, perfectly healthy. So he came back to Elisha, and he wanted to give him a lot of gifts. And Elisha told him, no, and I don't want any gifts from you. So Naaman was very impressed, and he made a promise that he's not going to serve Avodah Zarah anymore, and he knows that there's no God only in Yidden. And he was very, very inspired and very impressed. And he left. And then Gehazi, Elisha's servant, chased after him. And he said, my master changed his mind. He wants the gifts. And he wanted the gifts for himself. So he made a big chilul Hashem. And Elisha, when Elisha found out about it, Elisha cursed him that the leprosy of Naaman should go over to him and his children. So Elisha Mahi, what's the story of Elisha? It says, Vayemer Naaman hayel kach kikri. Naaman said to Gehazi, please take 2 talents of silver. And it says, Vayemer elav loy libi halach, kasher hafach ish me'al merkavte lekroscha, ha'es vakachas zakesel vakachas begadim. It says that Elisha, v'zeisim akramim v'tzeinu bakar v'avada b'shvachas. Elisha said to Gehazi, didn't my spirit accompany you when Naaman turned upon his chariot towards you? It is now time to take the money to buy clothes, olive groves, and vineyards. It's now the time to take the money to buy clothes, olive groves, and vineyards, sheep and oxen, slaves and maidservants. So the Gemara asks, so Mishakal Kulahai, Gehazi really take all that? All he took was money and clothes. Yitzchak said, at that time when this incident took place, Elisha was learning the Perek Shmeina Shratzim. Amar Loi, so he said to Gehazi, Rasha, Higia Eis, Little Schar Shmeina Shratzim. You Rasha, the time has come to take the reward for studying Shmeina Shratzim. Saras, Naaman Tidbak Bach was Arachalayla. May Naaman Saras cleave to you and to your children forever. And Elisha's curse was Mekuyim, as it says, there were 4 lepers. Rabbi Yechanan said, the 4 lepers are Gehazi and his 3 sons. It says that Elisha went to Damascus. Lama halach, why did he go to Damascus? Rabbi Yechanan said, he went to bring Gehazi back to Tshuva, and he didn't succeed in getting him to do Tshuva. Elisha said to Gehazi, do Tshuva. Come back. So Gehazi said to him, I received from you, I learned from you, whoever sins and causes the many to sin is not given the opportunity to do tshuva. What did Gehazi do to cause others to sin? Some say he hung a huge magnet for the sin of Yeravam. In other words, Yeravam set up golden calves in Dan and Beisel to prevent Yidden from going to the Beis Hamikdash. So Gehazi went and took a magnet, and he caused the calves of Yeravam to lift up, and they were suspended between heaven and earth. And some say, and he placed the calves in heaven and earth. Some say, that he engraved the name of Hashem in the calf's mouth. And the calf was saying, others say he pushed away Chachamim from Elisha's presence. Because it says, that the young Nevi'im said to Elisha, that the place where we're sitting in front of you has become very tight. Which shows us that until now it wasn't so tight. Why? Because until now Gehazi was Elisha's shamash, and he made sure that the Chachamim were not able to come to Elisha, therefore it wasn't cramped. Now that Gehazi had left, it became cramped. Yeshua ben Prachya Mahi. What's the story of Yeshua ben Prachya? We mentioned before that we shouldn't be doiche people b'shtei yadayim, not like Elisha did to Gehazi, and not like Yeshua ben Prachya. So what's the story of Yeshua ben Prachya? When Yanai, King Yanai, was killing the Chachamim, Shimon ben Shatach atmine achse. So Shimon ben Shatach was one of the greatest Chachamim. He was the Nasi, and he was a brother-in-law of Yanai HaMelech. So his sister, Shimon ben Shatach's sister, was married to Yanai HaMelech. So Shimon ben Shatach was hidden by his sister, the wife of the king. Rabbi Shua ben Prachia, his colleague Rabbi Shua ben Prachia, wasn't so lucky. He wasn't married. He wasn't the brother-in-law of the king, so he had to run away. So also Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. So he ran away to Alexandria. Have a shlama when things calm down. Shalach le Shimon ben Shatach. So Shimon ben Shatach sent a message to Rabbi Shua ben Prachia that he should come back. So what was the message? The message was Mini Yerushalayim Irakedesh. Lach Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. This is a letter from me, Yerushalayim, the holy city, to you, Alexandria of Mitzrayim. Achesi Baili Shari B'Seichich. My sister, my husband dwelling amongst you. Va'ani Yesheves Shemeima. And I'm sitting desolate. In other words, my husband is sitting amongst you means that the greatest Talmud Chacham of our time, Rabbi Shua ben Prachia, is in Alexandria, and Yerushalayim is desolate. So basically, Rabbi Shua ben Prachia only right that Rabbi Shua ben Prachia should come back to Yerushalayim. So Omar, so Rabbi Shua ben Prachia said, Shema Mina, I understood from this message, Habalei Shlama, that things have quieted down, and it's safe to return. So he went and returned to Yerushalayim. He also, on his way, Ikla lahu Ashpiza. He came to a certain inn. Kam kamayu b'yikara shapir. So the hosts in the inn showed him tremendous honor. Avdele yikara tuva, and they accorded him much honor. Yosef kamishtabach. So Rabbi Shua ben Prachia was praising the hostess, and he said, "Kama noach san yezu. How nice is this hostess?" Amar le'echad mitalmidav. So one of the talmidim said, "Rebbe, einea trutos. How can you say she's nice? Her eyes are round." Amar le'rashas. Amar le'he said to me, "Rasha v'kachata esek. This is what you're busy with. You're looking at her eyes to see if they're round or they're not round. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that they've treated us well." Apik arba me'eshipuri. So he took out 100 shofars, v'shamte, and he put them in chedem. Kol yema asal l'kamei v'leikabli. Every day this Talmud would come before Rabbi Shua ben Prachia to ask mechila, and Rabbi Shua ben Prachia did not accept him. Yom echad avakar krishma. One day Rabbi Shua ben Prachia was in the middle of learning krishma. Have a b'daite l'kabli. Rabbi Shua ben Prachia had already decided that the next time the Talmud comes to ask mechila, he's going to accept him. And this time he came, he was in the middle of krishma. So he made a motion with his hand that, wait a minute. So the student interpreted the motion to mean, go away. So he went. He gave up on achieving forgiveness. So he went and he stood up a brick on its end and he worshipped it. So he became an Eved Avodah Zarah, this Talmud. Amar lei chazer bach. So he told him, Rabbi Shua ben Prachia came to him and said, do tshuva. Amar lei, so he said to him, Kach mekablanim imcha. So I've received from you, I've learned from you, Kol hacheitim machtis harabim, ein maspik miyadi lasis tshuva. One who sins and causes the many to sin is not given an opportunity to do tshuva. Amar mar, as we learned, kishif v'heisis v'hidiach v'echtias Yisrael. That this student practiced sorcery, incited others, led them astray, and caused Yidden to sin. It's understood that this is a reference to Yoshka, founder of Christianity. Tanya, we learned in Abraisa, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Yetzer Tinek v'Isha, the inclination, the Yetzer Hara towards women, and a child who is misbehaves, I guess, and a woman takes smell deicha v'yimin mekareves. You should always push away with the left hand. In other words, if they need to be rebuked, should rebuke him with the left hand. But yimin mekareves, the right hand, should always be drawing them close. Okay, we're ready for the new Mishnah. The Mishnah said, back to the story of Eglah Rufa. Nimtza ha'herik. If the murderer was found, actually nerfa ha'eglah, before the calf's head was chopped off, teitzei v'tira be'eder. So the calf does not have to be decapitated anymore. You can let it go and let it graze with the rest of the flock. Nerfa ha'eglah. If the murderer was found after the calf was decapitated, he covered b'mkeimer, has to be buried in its place. Shal safek bas mitchilasa. It was brought originally because of a safek. So it atoned for its safek, and it did its job. What happens if the egla was decapitated and then the murderer was found? And he said, you still killed the murderer, despite the fact that he already received atonement through the egla. Says the Mishnah further. What if one witness says, I saw the murderer? So when do you have to make an egla rufa? Only when we don't know who killed him. But if one witness says, I can tell you who killed him. So if one witness says, I can tell you who killed him, there's no egla rufa. What if one witness says, I can tell you who killed him? Another witness comes and says, you're a liar. You never saw anything. Or a woman comes and says, I saw who killed him. And another woman says, no, you're lying, you didn't see anything. So since they cancel out each other, these witnesses cancel each other out, so they went ahead with the procedure of egla rufa. So what if one witness says, I saw, and two say, you're lying, you didn't see? So they went ahead with the egla rufa because this witness who said, I saw, was refuted by two witnesses. What if two witnesses come along and say, we saw who killed him, and one says to them, and one person says to them, you're liars, you didn't see? They did not go ahead with the egla rufa because you had two witnesses that said we saw, and we accept the testimony of the two witnesses. Mishnah continues, when the number of murderers increased, the egla rufa was abolished. When Eliezer ben Dinai came along, he was also called China ben Prisha, and later they started calling him the murderer's son. When there became a lot of people that were committing adultery, so they stopped abolished the bitter waters of Satan. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was actually the one who decided to stop using waters of Satan. Because it says in the pasuk, "Le'efked al b'nei seichem kisis nena, al kali seichem kisin afena kihem v'geimer." I will not examine your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your daughters-in-law when they commit adultery. So they themselves are a bunch of Yanamaises. So basically, once it became a common thing for people to be Mazana, they stopped using the Meisait. I believe it has to do with the fact that if the husband was Baal or Be'ilah Shal Isser, the waters didn't work. So it would be a waste to erase the Abish's name for nothing. Once Yesi ben Yezer Ish Tzreid and Yesi ben Yehuda Ish Yerushalayim, once Yesi ben Yezer Ish Tzreid and Yesi ben Yehuda Ish Yerushalayim passed away, Batlu HaEshkelis. So there's no more Eshkelis. The Gemara will talk about what Eshkelis means. Shenamar, it says, Ein Eshkel Echel Bikura, there is no cluster to eat its first fruit, if Sanafshi, that my soul desired. Yechanan Ken Gadol Heber Hidayas HaMaiser. Yechanan Ken Gadol abolished saying Vidui when one brings Meiser to the Vidui Meisters that is said after the twice in 7 years when it comes the time to be Mevayer. The Meisters, when it comes to Beis HaMikdash and says Hidayas HaMaiser, so Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai abolished it. Afhu Bitel Es HaMa'orerim Ve'es HaNoikvim. He also abolished the wakers and the strikers. The Gemara is going to discuss what exactly that means. Ad Yamav Hayapatish Makar Yerushalayim, until his days, the hammer would bang Yerushalayim, that refers to Chalamayit, and he abolished this. Yamav Ein Tzarach Lishal Asad Mai, in his days, you'd no longer have to ask about the Mai. Because he was misakin, and anybody who buys the mai, that's tvua, which you're not sure if it was meiser was taken or not, should meiser. Says the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan and Rabbanan learned Minayin shim nerfa ha'egla v'achar nimsa ha'hireg How do we know that if the Egla Rufa was decapitated and then the killer was found, that the fact that the Egla Rufa was decapitated does not absolve him of the murder? Talmud Leimar, it says in the pasuk, that the land will not be atoned for the blood that was spilt in it, only with the blood of the one who spilt it. So the Egla Rufa doesn't atone. We find out who the murderer is, we have to kill the murderer. Says the Mishnah, it said in the Mishnah that if one witness comes along and says, I saw the murderer, and then another witness comes and says, you're a liar, you didn't see the murderer. So we said that we don't go ahead, we go ahead with the Egla Rufa because they cancel each other out. Frekti Gemara, very identical Gemara to what we had some time ago about Saita, the same exact situation. Time of the Makrishla. Why do you say that if you don't go ahead with the Egla Rufa? Only because he's being contradicted by the other witness. But if nobody contradicts him, then we accept the testimony of one witness, and we don't go ahead with the Egla Rufa. How do we know this? How do we know that one witness is accepted to stop us from bringing an Egla Rufa? Because the Rabbanon learned the Braisa, it says in the Torah we don't know who killed him. But if we do know who killed him, even if somebody at the end of the world knows, you don't go ahead with the Egla Rufa. Rabbi Kiva says, how do we know that if Sanhedrin saw somebody kill someone and they don't know who he is? That they don't go ahead with the Egla Rufa because they saw it. It says in the pasuk, and our eyes didn't see. In this case, they did see. Now that you've established that one witness is believed to stop you from bringing an Egla Rufa, so how can the second witness come along and contradict the first witness? Didn't Ula say, that in any situation where the Torah believes the testimony of one witness, and we treat him like two witnesses. And then when the other witness comes to contradict him, he's one against two. The words of one witness are not accepted to contradict two witnesses. Amar lach Ula, so Ula would have to answer you that we have to fix the Mishnah. Instead of the Mishnah saying that one witness says I saw, and the other witness says no, you didn't see. We go ahead with the Egla Rufa because one contradicts the other and cancels out the other. Ula says no. The correct version in the Mishnah is lo hayu erfin, that we do not go ahead with the Egla Rufa because when the first witness comes and says I saw it, we accept him like two witnesses, and then when the second witness comes and says you're a liar, he's contradicting two witnesses, and one witness can't contradict two witnesses. And so Rabbi Yitzchak also said that we should correct the Mishnah to say lo hayu erfin. Reb Chia disagrees, and he says Tni hayu erfin, that you keep the Mishnah as it is, that they do go ahead with the Egla Rufa. But according to the Reb Chia, doesn't he have the problem of Ula's contradiction? Ula's question that if once one witness comes along and says, I saw it, we accept him like two, and then a second witness can't contradict two witnesses. Says the Gemara like Kasha, there's no contradiction. When they come together, then they cancel each other out. And that's the case that the Mishnah is speaking about. When do we say that once the Torah accepts one witness, he's considered like two, and one can't contradict him? That's if they come one at a time. So when the first witness comes and says, I saw, we accept him like two. And if a later time, a second witness comes along and says, you're a liar, we don't accept his testimony. But when they both come together, they cancel each other out. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah. If one witness says, I saw the killer, and two say, no, you're lying, you didn't see anything. They went ahead with the Egla Rufa because the two canceled out the one. So this would seem to imply that if one said I saw and one said you didn't see, they would not go ahead with it because only when Shnayim later Isa they knocked out the one. But if it's chad b'chad, if it's one and one, they didn't go ahead with the Egla Rufa. Too, after the Reb Chia, isn't this a contradiction to what Reb Chia just said, that we keep the Mishnah the way it is, that by one and one, you do go ahead with the Egla Rufa. Says the Gemara, the time if you want to work that way, Ema Seifa, let's look in the Seifa. Let's look in the later part of the Mishnah. Later part of the Mishnah says, Shnayim Eimrim Ra'inu. If two witnesses said we saw the murderer, and one witness says you didn't see, you don't go ahead with the Egla Rufa, which seems to imply it's only if two said Ra'inu and one said you didn't see. But if one said I saw and the other one contradicts him, and they went ahead with the Egla Rufa. So there's one part of the Mishnah that implies one thing, and another part of the Mishnah implies the opposite. So obviously you cannot derive these things from the Mishnah. We have to say that the entire Mishnah, the entire latter part of the Mishnah, deals with witnesses who are disqualified, who would ordinarily be disqualified from being witnesses. Because Reb Nechemia, and it works according to Reb Nechemia. The Amar Reb Nechemia says, wherever the Torah accepts the testimony of one witness, you follow the majority of opinions, the majority of testimony. And therefore, a case where two women stand testimony against one man, will be the same as two men against one man. The Ikad Amri, and others say, in a case where one kosher aid came in the beginning, and even if 100 women come and contradict him, we would only consider them like one witness. We're talking about over here, we're talking about that the first witness was a woman who would normally be Pasal Eidus. And then the two that came afterwards were also women. And we'll explain that Nechemiah's words in the following way. Nechemia said, in any case when the Torah accepts the testimony of a single witness, halacha follow the majority of opinions. So two women against one woman will be the same as two men against one man. But two women against one man, would be considered like half and half, and they would probably cancel each other out. Perhaps not. Maybe they would consider like one witness against a witness who was already accepted, and his testimony was already accepted as valid because the Torah believes in Eid Echad in such a case. So if we say that the Mishnah is speaking about Psulei Eidus right from the beginning, so why do we need two repetitive cases about Psulei Eidus? The Gemara, you might have thought, when do we follow the majority of opinions? Only when it leads to a chumrah. I guess that would mean that we should go ahead with the Egla Rufa. That would be the result in the first case. But where it leads to a leniency that we won't go ahead with the Egla Rufa, you might think that we don't follow the majority of opinions. So the Mishnah therefore says both cases to tell you that both L'Kula and L'Chumra, you follow the majority of opinions. Now the Mishnah said, when the number of murderers increased, they abolished the Egla Rufa. When the number of murderers increased, the Egla Rufa was abolished because the Egla Rufa was brought for a doubt, for an uncertainty. And now, once the murderers are known, so we have a general idea of who the murderer would have been. When it became people were murderers who killed in public, they were known as murderers, became many, so the Egla Rufa was abolished. When the number of adulterers increased, so then the waters of Saita were abolished. The man is innocent of sin. Then, only when the man is innocent of sin, the water, in other words, he didn't do anything forbidden, then the bitter waters can examine his wife. But if the man is not innocent of sin, then the waters don't do the job on examining his wife. And it says in the pasuk, "Efked al b'nei seichem kisis neno." I will not examine the account of your daughters because they committed znus. Basically, that when it comes a time that people are committing znus themselves, so the waters of Saita don't examine their wives. Why does he bring the additional pasuk? Efked al b'nei seichem kisis neno. If you think that because of one's own sins, the bitter waters won't examine his wife. But if the sins of his sons and daughters do not affect the examination, Tashma, come and learn from the following pasuk. So even the sins of his sons and daughters also prevent the waters from affecting his wife. And if you think that it's only the sin of committing adultery with an Eshes Ish that will make the waters ineffective. But if the woman that he was mizana with is a pnuya, then it won't affect it. It won't make the waters ineffective. Tashma, come in here, it says in the pasuk, so this pasuk implies that even if the woman is a pnuya, it also will cause that the waters of Saita will not affect his wife. What is the end of the pasuk which says the people that do not understand will stumble? Abelazar said, the Nabi said to Yidden, if you are careful with yourself with regard to immorality, the waters will examine your wives. In love, if you're not careful with yourself, the waters will not examine your wives. When the number of Talmidei Chachamim who are pleasure seekers increased, this Avsu Hadinim, justice was prevented. Niskalkulu Hamaisim, the good deeds deteriorated, and Hashem is not satisfied with the world. When the number of judges who displayed favoritism and judgment increased, so the command of you shall not fear, shall not tremble before any man, cease to be practiced. The pasuk leisakiru, and the commandment not to show favoritism was discontinued. The parko el shamayim, people removed the yoke of heaven. Nast aleim el basar v'dam, and they placed themselves instead in the yoke of fellow human beings. When the amount of people that whispered by a din Torah, by a judgment, they whispered to the judges during judgment, when that increased, it brought a lot of anger to you. Caused the shkina to depart. Because it says, that judging takes place in the presence of Hashem. When the number of people increased, that can be described by the pasuk, their heart lusts for gain. So there became an increase of people that would describe good as evil and evil as good. Rabu hoy hoy ba'ilam. When there was an increase in those people who say that evil is good and good is evil, Rabu hoy hoy ba'ilam. The cry of hoy hoy, woe woe, increased in the world. When those who spit a fair distance increased, it's a sign of haughtiness, I guess. So the number of arrogant people increased. In Ismatu Talmidim, the number of Torah students decreased. The Torah goes about searching for people to study it. When arrogant people increased, so the daughters of Israel began to marry only arrogant people. For our generation, sees things only on the surface. Is that the case? Didn't we learn Haiman de Miyar, a person who is boastful, a person who is arrogant, is not even acceptable to the members of his own household. So how could you say that B'nai Yisrael want to marry people that are arrogant? Shanamar, as it says in the pasuk, Gever Yahir Lo Yinve, that an arrogant man, even his own home won't endure. Lo Yinve Apilu B'nava Shalei, even in his own home, he won't be respected. And for the Gemara, Meikara Kavtzale, originally the girls jumped to marry these arrogant people. And ultimately, their husbands become despised by them. When the number of judges who jobbed out merchandise to households increased. In other words, the judges gave people jobs to do for them. It caused a lot of bribery and the perversion of justice. Paska Teva, and good conditions ceased. When the number of judges increased, who would say to a person who came to be judged, I acknowledge the favor you performed to me, or I'm beholden to you for your favor. Rabu Isha Yashar Mein of Yasa, then increased the behavior that is described by the pasuk. Everybody will do what is right in his own eyes. Lowly people were raised up, and people who were great people were brought low. Malchus, Azla, and Avla, and the Jewish kingdom deteriorated more and more. When the number of miserly people and grabbers of spoil increased, so they increased the number of people who hardened their hearts and tight-fisted and refused to lend money to the needy. And they transgressed what it says in the Torah. Be careful lest you act wrongly by withholding loans. When there was an increase in the number of women who are described in the pasuk, they walked the neck stretched forth and with winking eyes. It became the use of bitter waters has increased. The only thing is they were eventually discontinued because there were so many. When the number of acceptors of gifts increased, the days of people's lives decreased and the years were shortened. It says, it's written, who hates gifts will live, which conversely means that the number of people who accept gifts don't merit long life. When people who are haughty-minded increased, this caused a lot of disputes by Yidden. There became an increase in the students of Shammai and Hillel who did not serve their teachers sufficiently. So it caused a lot of disputes by Yidden. And the Torah constantly became like two Torahs. When there became more people that accepted tzedakah from Goyim, from idolaters, I guess that is Lashon Saginoir. The idolaters were high and Yidden were low. Yisrael Lapanim v'heim la'acher. So the idolaters were at the forefront and Yidden were in the back. Gemara speaking of Lashon Saginoir. The Mishnah said, Mishameis Yesi ben Yezer. When Yesi ben Yezer passed away, so we said Batlo Ashkelis. Yesi ben Yezer, Ish Yerushalayim, Yesi ben Yechanan, Yesi ben Yezer Ish Tzreid, Yesi ben Yechanan Yerushalayim. When they passed away, Batlo Ashkelis. There were no Ashkelis were abolished, or no longer Ashkelis. My Ashkelis. What does Ashkelis mean? Ashkelis means clusters. What does that mean? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Isha Hakelbei. It means someone who has everything in him. So Eshkelis means someone who has everything in him, scholarship and piety and everything. Okay, so I think we should hold it over here. And Amir Tzashem tomorrow at 2:45, we will continue from Yechanan Kain Gadol Hever Hedayas Hamaiser.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm sorry that we're moving so quickly, but it's a long blot, and we want to fill it in the time that we have allotted. Have a very good day.
Shkoyach.
Chacham Yasher.